Pieman ranking community. Fucking baubles.
We could be roped up, tied up, dead in a year. I can't count the reasons I should stay.
That's right, children. Today we are ranking all 6 seasons of Community. Where's that Anna movie, Harmon, huh? And because it's a show that I've followed and loved for years now, but it was relatively recently that I actually finished it. The first time I saw it was on Netflix, and they didn't have the final season on yet. So it was years after I saw the rest of it, only a couple of years ago actually, that I saw the final season for the first time, and it really ended. That was sad. So yes, the end of our time in Greendale, it's still a relatively fresh wound for me, but I'll be okay. I'll get through this, you know. But I do have to say that every time I hear that theme, the Greendale is where I belong theme, I'm ready to just bare my soul, you know. All of my emotions, they flood out of me in a wave. That piece of music might actually be the closest thing I have in my life to a therapist, which is bad. No, that's bad. Anyway, Community is a show about Greendale Community College and the unique set of people who go there, particularly the ones who start out as a Spanish study group and end up being very much not that. Very much not that. As Yvette would say, remember when this show was about a community college? Yeah, it's one of the most chaotic shows ever. By the time like the 3rd season's rolling around, there's a dictator in the college and they all get kicked out and they try to throw them into a psych ward. You know, like it's not even remotely about a community college. I can't quite place my finger on the moment that it stopped being, you know, what it seemed like at the start, which was a simple comedic show about a community college where Jeff Winger was being sent because his law degree was proven to be bogus, so he couldn't be a lawyer without that, and he had to come to community college apparently to get it back and try to cheat his way the whole way along to get that degree. Yeah, but after accidentally starting a Spanish study group to try and sleep with hot girl Britta, he finds an actual set of friends and, well, I wouldn't say he immediately starts enjoying his time at college, but he certainly starts having a lot of weird adventures and shit goes down. Here is my 1-minute review for Community Season 1. I do think there's something special about this first season and how Dan Harmon slowly did just push the show away from that simple initial premise. You know, it seemed quite basic, you know, at the start, but he had to make it seem that way because he had to, you know, fit the mold of what NBC was looking for in their new lineup at the time. And then just over the course of that first season, just by the end of the first season, it was the chaotic, crazy show that it would end up being, you know? He started out with trying to cheat at tests and, you know, taking blow-off classes all the way with shocking speed to stories about holes in the condoms they're handing out at the STT fair and Jeff screaming as he rips off his underwear during a, you know, pull game in front of the whole class. Like, it's just, you don't know when it happened, but it happened real quick. It's just literally Dan Harmon showing us the inside of his brain. Normal at first glance, but then you look a little closer and you go, what the fuck is this? But you know, no matter what other awesome stuff happened in season 1, it suddenly becoming a school-wide paintball war was the best episode. Maybe one of the best episodes of TV ever, honestly. Anyway, I'm giving season 1 of Community 84 out of 100. An excellent season of television. But with that slow start especially, and other little things about that, it hadn't really hit its stride, you know? That was all that business of almost practically acting normal, you know? For the first few episodes. As we slowly came into the second season though, you know, developments, Chang was no longer a teacher but a crazy student. The Dean was slowly losing his grip on everything. And then the characters of the study group morphed closer to just insanity, you know? Troy wasn't just a jock anymore, and he wasn't just a, you know, tidy, good girl teenager anymore. Shirley wasn't just a housewife anymore, you know? All of these things changed and morphed in the second season into something completely new and just never seen before in television, I don't think. Just look at, like, Britta going from this girl who didn't want to sleep with Jeff, but she was the hot girl, to just this really dumb character, but she was so much funnier once they started just like kind of low-key hating her, you know? It's classic. And I mean, do I need to say anything more about Troy and Yvette? Oh my god. Here is my 1-minute review for season 2 of Community.
Give me the snow, light up the trees, deck every hall, and while you can see, roast every nut. Mistletoe, this needs to be the best Christmas, the original.
Better. I've said a lot on this channel. Anytime I review TV, you know, I talk about how after dealing with all the world building and all that shit in season 1, shows quite often get better in season 2. They hit their stride. They quite often get to the level of that's going to be their best season, you know? Right from early in this season, when Annie started chloroforming people at fancy parties, you knew this was going to be way less sane, way more hilarious. There are so many truly amazing episodes this time around. Annie's pen going missing, the space simulator, an actual zombie outbreak episode somehow, and Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. I mean, let's talk about that this time of year. My god, one of the best Christmas TV episodes ever. There's so many episodes that you'd think of as that episode, you know, the one that you can really pick out as your favourite of the 23. But there's like 8 or 9 of them in this season, you know, it's incredible. But no matter what else happened in this season, it's suddenly becoming a school-wide paintball war. Wait a second. I swear we talked about this before. We've done it before, but it didn't matter. I'm giving season 2 of Community 88 out of 100. It's even more beautiful. And then season 3 reached the peak of the insanity. No matter what they did in later seasons, nothing was as insane as having an air conditioning repair school that's apparently been attached to the college this whole time. Nothing is as ludicrous as Chang starting out the season as a security guard that sleeps with a mannequin leg and ending the season as a dictator that's taken over the school. Britta trying to be a psychology major. Pierce's father, everything about him. Troy and Abed ramping up to basically become Phineas and Ferb. I mean, there's so much about this season that took what made season 2 great and managed to just match it step for step. Insanely creative and totally unique episode for totally creative and insanely unique episode. Here is my woman review for Community Season 3. I mean, it's better. I don't know how. Actually, I do. You look at things like Jeff's ego exploding at a children's bar mitzvah so he rips off his shirt and turns into the Hulk. You look at the Dean burning all his clothes as he has turned totally insane just from making an advertisement for the school. You look at Pierce's evil stepbrother trying to steal his fortune in a video game world. Guys, the episode where they roll the dice and go into the alternate dimensions, that is, I cry laughing every time Troy walks back in the one where he went to get it, the darkest timeline, and just sees everything on fire and Pierce shot, and I'm just, you just shouldn't be able to be this good. A single season of a sitcom should never stand out as this epic. Pillows and blankets. The Human Subway, the Glee Club Christmas episode, Model UN. Guys, there's an episode called Advanced Gay. I'm giving Community Season 3 90 out of 100. It is probably my favourite season of any sitcom on TV ever. Then they fired Dan Harmon. Yeah. I didn't really think they'd ever fire him from his own show, but apparently season 3 was just too crazy for NBC to keep him on. And they fired Dan Harmon and went ahead with a shortened season 4, and it happened. Oh, did it? Maybe it was for the best that they destroyed the show. I don't know. You know, maybe they never would have achieved greatness beyond season 3. Maybe Dan Harmon was pitching ideas that were even more madcap or something. But they got rid of him. They went ahead with it, and oh god, it's a shit heap. Here is my 1 minute review for Community Season 4. Changnesia. Troy and Britta dating. The really, really forced felt animation episode. Bad. I'm bad. Yeah, that's all I've got. That's all I've got to talk about this season. It's like they took a bunch of Dan Harmon's best ideas and they tried to remix them into new episodes, you know. There's so much about this that felt like it was already done. It felt like a fan-made season, you know? Like a cheap facsimile. It didn't even feel like a fan season. It just felt like... It felt like such a rehash of previous seasons, you know? And the thing was, Dan Harmon always came up with something new. Equally insane and hilarious, but new and different, you know? He was constantly doing that. Even when he redid Paintball, he did it in a totally different way. This just never, ever felt like Community. And I'm giving this season 54 out of 100, you know? Community needed 8 people to make it work. 7 cast members, Dan Harmon. It needed Dan Harmon the most. Then they rehired him, yeah. This story of Community is messy, guys. They did season 4 without him, and then in one of the biggest "oh, we fucked up" moments ever, they just rehired him. Yeah, so I mean that goes to show how smart NBC is, huh? Unfortunately, really unfortunately, because with Dan Harmon back, I think they could have fully recovered and made season 5 as good as seasons 1 to 3. But just as Dan Harmon returned, they started bleeding cast members. Chevy Chase left because he's a horrible dick. And more importantly, probably, Donald Glover left. And without Troy, you know, kind of had to make Annie crazier as a character to be the duo with Abed. And so much about what happened, you know, it was a patchwork. Dan Harmon was trying to piece things back together just having returned, and he only watched season 4 after hearing he was returning, you know, because he couldn't bear to go near it before he had to make it somewhat consistent with season 4 when he came back for season 5. But yeah, here's my moment review for Community season 5. From the start, you did feel it was fixed, you know? Or at least that it was slowly being, like, knitted back together. There was a lot to repair here. There was a lot to fix and bring them back. You know, I liked bringing in Hickey as a character. He was kind of this foil to the group, you know, but not enough of one. He needed to be more of a dick, probably, because Pierce was always this amazing foil to the rest of the group, you know? So many episodes where he was so good at that, Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, you know? There are good episodes here. The one where Troy leaves, that's a fantastic episode. But after he's gone, you just kind of go, it doesn't feel right anymore, you know? It never quite recovered from those two leaving in such quick succession. But it is certainly back. Community came back with this season, you know, it was resurrected. It never quite achieved the former glory of any of the first 3 seasons. But I'm still giving Community season 5 79 out of 100. Yeah. Then they cancelled it. I don't know what NBC was doing, but they were finally done. But then Yahoo, of all things, picked it up for a 6th and final season, which gave them the opportunity to round things off properly, at least, you know, which is a blessing. It is a blessing. You watch the finale episode, the very last one, you kind of go, yeah. No matter what else happened in season 6, thank God that they got the chance to do that episode, I think, you know, instead of just leaving it on kind of not really a final note at the end of season 5. They still had Dan Harmon, but they didn't have Troy, they didn't have Pierce, they didn't even have Shirley, you know? We had Jeff, Britta, Annie, and Abed. And then, you know, those in addition to the Dean and Chang still being there was kind of enough to just about hold this together for a last season, but, you know, they had to bring in Frankie and Elroy to help things, and you know, as much as I love Keith David, I had to look up those character names just now. I did, to even remember their names. They weren't memorable characters, it wasn't a very memorable season, but there were fun episodes in it, you know? So here is my 1-minute review for Community Season 6. It didn't really retain much of the former show. You know, Jeff was a teacher now, they were doing the whole Save Greendale thing. Frankie was this organised kind of foil to the group, but she wasn't like, you didn't dislike her, you didn't care for her, you felt nothing, you know. I didn't really feel much for her at any point. They didn't bother trying to get us to know her, you know, because it was the last season. Why bother? But then why introduce her in a way, you know? I still enjoyed it. It was still fun. The last paintball episode, that kind of showed off both how he was just trying to make something out of this final season, you know, desperately, and how he still could. How even with this limited number of the original cast and stuff like that, and how much the story had been messed with in and out, They still could make good episodes. But apart from that episode, like, the only one that really does stand out is the last one, you know? But I'm giving this last season 69 out of 100. Still a damn sight better than season 4, but it couldn't even quite hold together well enough to make the heights of, like, season 5. Never mind the first 3. That's all, guys. In case you want to catch up there, season 4 is shit. Then season 6, then season 5, then season 1, pretty good, but it's not on the level of season 2. And then, surprisingly for a TV show, season 3 on top. Not often you'd get it like that, but I think it's more likely to happen in like sitcoms than it is with other shows, you know? And that is all for this video. That was a fairly long ranking, eh? Check out other rankings on the channel. Check out other Christmassy goodness. Yeah, I don't know, this episode doesn't need to be Christmassy, but everything is right now, so there you go. Yeah. And subscribe, because please. That's the only reason, really. Did you enjoy the content? Then that's a good reason. Yeah, subscribe.